Okay.
In the midst of herself playing Santa Claus, she brings gifts through her grace. Morning rain,
Come on.
gently plays her rhythms on your window pane,
We're going to have our first
giving you no clue of when
perfect.
she plans to change.
100.
Rain or
You'll hear it.
sunshine. And so you wait to see what she'll do. Is it sun or rain for you? But it breaks your heart in two.
I'm Adam Annis.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
A great day in the history of this podcast.
A great day brought to you by Open Studio. Go to openstudiojazz.com for all your jazz lesson needs. Peter, you are...
I love this record. Sue me.
This is...
Call my attorneys in New Orleans.
Debussy and Debussy. Peter knows every chord, every song. It's one of the great records of all time.
I love
it.
This
Is,
right
of course, Stevie Wonder's 1976 masterpiece, Songs in the Key of Life.
Oh.
It's incredible. Easily one of both of our favorite records. It's a double album. When we get into the lore, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The production of this, the undertaking of this, and the results. It's all of
Okay,
the
I keep
highest
fading it down and I
order.
can't stop.
You
I'm
can't
just
stop.
fading, but
You wait to see what he'll do. Is it sun or
okay.
snow for
Sorry, we gotta get to the discussion. It's really good. It's a good record.
It's really good. We're going to rate it on 10 categories: playing, vibe, compositions, sound, sequence, cover art, title, lore, Snob-o-meter, and is it better than Kinda Blue? We've got an updated Snob-o-meter, Peter. We've had some amazing suggestions from You'll Hear It commenters.
Didn't somebody say Aunt Linda O-meter?
Aunt Linda is back in the picture.
Yes!
That's all I'm saying. Aunt Linda is back in the picture, so much so that I've stopped saying Aunt Linda, and now I say Aunt Linda.
Aunt Linda.
In respect for our listeners.
That's right.
Aunt Linda is now a part of it. We will get there when we get to the Snob-o-meter. So let's begin, Peter, with playing. What do you got lined up?
Well, first of all, I just want to say this is such an important record. It's a seminal record, just beyond jazz. It's not a jazz record. But it's not an R&B record. It's not a pop record, you know. And I'm not giving to hyperbole.
It's a Stevie record.
It's a Stevie record.
Yeah.
But this is just
the man is his own genre.
Yeah, I mean, this record I would throw in there, like if you were talking about the most important, the most impactful, certainly for me, subjective, most beautiful, but I mean, just important records for a number of reasons ever to be recorded in the U.S. or anywhere else
Easily.
of the 20th century or any other century.
Easily. It's one of the great works of art of the 20th century.
Having said all that, I love it. Am I clear on that?
Okay, 100.
Okay, got it. Okay, so we're going to start with playing. So we could really go a lot of different places, but how about if we go a little place here called As? Are you familiar with a gentleman named Herbie Hancock? 'Cause
I am
you're hearing him
familiar
on the
with Herbie
Fender
Hancock,
Rhodes right
yes.
now. Oh, this is what the record cover looks like.
Around the sun, the earth knows she's revolving, and the rosebuds know to bloom in early May.
It's so good. It's so good. But not just Herbie's playing.
I know.
Everybody's playing.
I know. Nathan Watts on bass. He's one of the most. There's so many people on this record. I was looking.
There's
back.
130 musicians.
Yeah, it's crazy. Greg Fillinganes does a much. I mean, it's Herbie Hancock. So you'd say, well, that track, of course, is great. But Herbie's singing, which is playing as well. Herbie's keyboard work, drums. Ronnie Foster's on here. Minnie Riperton doing background vocal. There's so much.
Nathan Watts, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
The
George
West,
Benson. He's not on this track, but George Benson is on here.
Minnie Riperton.
Yeah. And then, of course, you know, whenever you get a bunch of these all-star guest appearances, it can be like kind of a muddy, sloppy Joe kind of mess, even if you have great talent. But I mean, the way that Stevie put this together, and we'll get into it with the lore of like this was recorded over several years and pieced together, but it's such a beautiful document and a wonderful thing.
Snuffy Walden is on this.
Dude, there's a lot of great playing on here.
He wrote the theme to The West Wing. Sneaky Pete Kleinow.
Sneaky Pete.
Steel guitar. Sneaky Pete.
Well, yeah, Sneaky. Wasn't he in
That was your
Breaking
nickname.
Bad?
That's your nickname on the basketball
Wasn't
court.
he the evil drug dealer in Breaking Bad? Sneaky Pete.
Ronnie Foster, as you mentioned, like
Yeah.
all of these huge names, and then all of these amazing studio
Yeah.
musicians. 130 musicians. That's not hyperbole. That's
Dude, we're gonna get stuck here. So I'm going. What do you got on this one for playing?
for playing. Oh, I don't know. 6? No, I'll go full 10.
I'm going 10 too, but just to be clear, this is not because Herbie's killing it on Az. The whole record is just amazing playing, right? And that's from a jazz or non-jazz standpoint. We're not. It's got nothing to do with that.
No, this is
The harp playing. Check this out. Who's that on harp on here?
If it's magic,
my gosh.
The playing's great on here. Okay, sue me. Okay, let's go with vibe now. All right, let's keep playing this because this is good for vibe.
Great. Trying to find the harpist.
like the sun that always
Probably Stevie. Stevie learned harp for it,
I heard him do this live with harp, the Superdome in New Orleans at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Really?
1994 or something at Essence Jazz Fest.
Wow. So good.
If it's pleasing,
They don't have the harp listed on the
never leaving.
track listing.
Someone will tell us in the comments.
Yeah, let us know who the harpist is if you know.
This is a harpist from, I remember there's a story like from Detroit, I want to say.
So the vibe here is 10.
Yeah.
On the whole album. The whole album, start to finish. Peter,
Such a vibe.
it's got such a vibe. Can you do,
I would say just from, the playing is amazing, so of course that pushes it. But the songwriting on here is, these are some of the most beloved Stevie songs. The lyrics,
can you play Joy Inside My Tears?
even badly playing it on a keyboard, it joins. Oh yeah.
Like, this is the thing, too. Well, we're going to get to this. All of the songs, all the B-sides or whatever, they all have an incredible vibe.
Man, I have to find it. Maybe it's at my mom's house. It was a double album, which was a huge part of this record. It's a massive
4 sides.
Yeah, but it came with the little, the 4 extra tunes. What songs were those? The little EP add-on. The little 45, a little
Yeah.
chumpy, 2 on each side. Yeah, this is great. All right, 10.
Compositions. Well, I don't know.
We can roll right into that. We've already showed that.
Love's
All
in need
Stevie's,
every single composition.
Ordinary Pain, Somersault, Pastime Paradise.
Isn't She Lovely?
Here we
Joy
go.
Inside My Tears. Black Man. If It's Magic. As. Another Star.
I haven't even played any of the big hits yet. That's what's crazy.
Sir Duke.
Compositionally,
I see us in the park,
Major 7 much?
strolling the summer days of imaginings.
And with Stevie, I think compositionally you're talking about, the intersection, of course, of the lyric, the melody, the harmony, the basic elements, a lot of pentatonics, just.
I think this is him at his creative peak as a songwriter, too.
Yeah.
I think he told better stories on this album than any album he made during this era. And I think the composition of the music and the sounds.
Keep going. There's a little undercurrent there. There's a little reminder that this little puppy's on here too.
Well, we should. So I'm giving a 10 for compositions. Big surprise. I think we should roll into maybe play I Wish for sound.
Ooh, interesting.
Sir Duke or I Wish for sound.
Let's do Sir Duke because this was a huge radio hit. Was this the biggest hit on here?
I think I Wish is probably.
Maybe I Wish. I don't know.
Listen to this.
Oh, is that bass drum?
Literally hear the breath on the reeds.
Yeah. And they've got that horn section.
Super tight.
Yeah.
Kick drums tight.
Woo. That hi-hat. Nathan, he's. Woo.
Music is a world within itself, with a language we all understand.
Every single detail of the sound, every instrument sounds amazing. I'm going 10 for sound. Peter, this is looking. Oh, same key.
Yeah, I'm going 10 too. And I was trying to remember the name of the engineer. I believe it was was it like Fishbox, something? I can't remember. My apologies on that. I'm getting excited, sir. Do you have that on your
Talking about the recording engineer?
Yeah.
I'm sure it was multiple people.
Right, but he worked like Stevie.
Yeah. So good, man.
Yeah.
Man, the sound, everything. Okay. Sound is a 10.
Yeah.
Sequence, the track sequence.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm also going 10.
yeah.
It starts so beautifully with Love's in Need of Love Today.
Yeah, let's start a little bit of that.
And then just one into the other. The side one ends with Sir Duke. It begins with I Wish. I couldn't imagine a more perfect order. And maybe it's because I've listened to it 1,000 times in this order, but I think it's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, and Isn't She Lovely? Is that at the beginning of the second LP?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a strong start. We're going to listen just how the record starts. Choir-esque.
The start of the record.
Good morning or evening, friends.
Is that Rhodes or Worley?
Here's your friendly
Rhodes.
announcer. I have serious news to pass on
Sound.
to everybody.
The combination of that bass and kick drum.
Yeah. Well, and then think about this is such an entry point, the lyric and everything to
Yeah.
start.
Good
I'm
morning
your
or
friendly,
evening, friends.
your
Yeah.
friendly announcer,
Incredible.
and the space.
So I'm saying.
the patience to start the record like this.
What's crazy too about this record is this is him at his artistic peak, in my opinion,
Yeah.
and his commercial peak. I don't know if this was his most commercially successful. Surely this is one that has stood this test
It was
of time.
huge. It was on
Still selling.
13 weeks at #1.
Incredible.
For a double album.
Sequence is a 10. Cover art, can we put the cover back up?
Gotcha.
Because it is also, in my opinion, that's a 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. We're going 10 out of 10.
It's a beautiful piece of art.
Oh, and the LP with the inside and the inserts and stuff
Gorgeous.
are so good.
It's you can't not it's so recognizable.
Yeah.
It's not boring. It's not cluttered. It's just
It's very 1976,
Yeah.
our bicentennial year. I was a young lad at 5 when this record came
all
out.
the colors, all the oranges and reds are very 70s oranges and
Right.
reds. So they look great.
You were not alive at this point,
I
were
was
you?
not quite alive. No.
Yeah, I was alive and kicking.
The title, "Songs in the Key of Life," is also, in my opinion, a 10 out of 10.
That's yeah.
It's an incredible title.
As much hyperbole as we've said, I would say that might even be the strongest 10 out of 10 on this.
It's one of the greatest album titles ever.
It really is great. Yeah. I mean, it's just a great phrase. It's an iconic thing. And I'll just throw in there, I got a chance to see Stevie about 7-8 years ago, but a mile from here or so at the Enterprise Center or whatever it was called at the time. One of the best concerts ever. He did this entire record from beginning to end. In the original keys, he ran it with no intermission. Yeah, that was the Songs in the Key. That's kind of the last big tour
in his 70s, probably, when he did that.
Maybe, or pushing. I mean, probably.
Wow.
Or late 60s. Yeah, he killed it.
Amazing. Lore
Oh, okay.
is a 10 out of 10. 130 musicians, 2 years to make.
Yeah.
He basically had a synth studio built for this.
Yeah.
It's an incredible. It's one of the most iconic records of the 20th century. Obviously, one of the most iconic albums of the 20th century.
And I found that John Fischbach. So that was the main engineer at Crystal Sounds in Hollywood. That a lot of this was recorded, but he did a bunch in New York. There's all sorts of stories that he did it at other studios. That he would redo stuff. That he would get Nathan Watts up in the middle of the night to come back at 3:00. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff. But I think the big part of the lore that people forget, I think it was sort of known at the time, but this came out of he always had this kind of, this was on Motown, but he had a kind of off and on relationship with Barry Gordy from a business standpoint. Huh?
It says it's on. Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah. This is when he re-signed the big contract. At the time, it was the biggest contract, and for years, it was the biggest record contract ever signed. I mean,
Wow.
Ray Charles had done that maybe 15 years before, but this was a huge, huge contract, and it had the biggest double-digit royalty rate ever. Stevie was a genius of business as well during this time and really sort of held out. He produced a lot of this stuff. As he'd done on some of his earlier records, he was tied into that youth contract for years, and once he turned 18, he was like, oh, everything's different now. And he always he always like handled his money well so that he could already be recording the record even before he signed the next contract. Amazing. You talk about leverage. You got Songs of the Key of Life in your back pocket. Amazing. And it was supposed to come out like a year earlier. It was like the most anticipated record of the mid 70s. And he was like, no, it's not right yet. And my deal isn't right yet.
Incredible.
So it's a lot of fantastic stories. Of course, him, experimenting with a bunch of different keyboards for the first time, synthesizers, all these, political issues that he was already kind of involved with, but that he further, stepped into from a lyrical standpoint, tying that in both overt and covert ways. The lore is kind of off the charts. There was a video I remember made like 20 years ago. It was like, I had it on VHS, probably longer, 30 years ago, where it was about the history of how this record that was made. That would be a fun one to pull out.
Can you, while I'm going to say some of the accolades, can you play the last track, Another Star? Maybe put that on because that's one of the singles here.
Yeah.
So the album won Album of the Year at the 19th Grammy Awards. It's the best-selling and most critically acclaimed album of Wonder's career, widely regarded as his magnum opus.
Yeah. And
one of the greatest albums in the history of recorded music. Many musicians have remarked on the quality of the album and its influence on their own work. Indeed, some notable musicians have named it as the greatest album of all time.
Yeah.
It was ranked number 4 on Rolling Stone's 2020 list of the 500 greatest albums of all time. In 2002, the album was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. In 2005, it was inducted into the National Recording Registry by the Library of Congress, which deemed it culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. It, like you mentioned, it spent 13 weeks at number 1. Had several hit singles.
The whole album.
Yeah.
Billboard album, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
I Wish was the first single.
Okay.
Isn't She Lovely was the second single. Sir Duke was the third single. This, Another Star, was the fourth single. And As was the fifth single. To say that it's one of the most important work. It's a great chorus here. Great hook.
Yeah, the whole thing is just great.
Anyway, yeah, Laura's off the charts. Okay.
Yeah.
Snob-o-meter. Let's talk about some changes to the Snob-o-meter.
Yeah, please, break it down.
So a lot of people had some great ideas. So the Snob-o-meter should lie started at 5, right? So we're going to start at 5. And how does
you were so resolute with your approach to this as we entered?
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, no,
we
start at 0 and we add 1 through 5 for Will Snobs Like It, and 1 through 5 of Will Aunt Linda Like It. So they each get their points, and then we add those points up, and then we get our point score. The key of the Snob-o-meter is do Snobs Like It, and Will Aunt Linda Like It.
Give us a quick, for myself and for our dear listeners, if they weren't around, a quick summation of Aunt Linda's.
She doesn't know a lot about jazz.
The avatar for her, like what her listening.
She doesn't listen to a lot of jazz. She likes things that are catchy and snappy and sound really good. She might not like Eric Dolphy, but she would like Time Out, right? Okay. She likes Kenny G, but maybe not so much Thelonious Monk.
Okay.
So the Snob-o-meter should be something that snobs who would be like, think Ethan Iverson. No offense to Ethan, but very bespoke.
Is he the avatar for our snob on
He
Snob?
might be, just because him or like...
So like an intersection of just like a
Nate
lot
Shannon,
of knowledge.
Lots of knowledge. Very
eloquent.
Eloquent and very knowledgeable.
But they're not going to jump on a train just because it's passing by.
Connoisseur of arts and
some connoisseur
doesn't really care so much for popular music.
They're not going to be swayed by a Billboard chart. They're not going to be impressed by the big record contract.
They are not. They're going to be more impressed by the musicality of it.
Okay.
Whereas Aunt Linda wants it to feel good and sound good and be catchy. And so I'm going to say Snob-o-meter on this. This is another 10 out of 10. Linda loves Isn't She Lovely? She danced to it.
Wait, hold on. That's not fair. You actually know. Look, you're going to do a personal. I thought.
No.
I thought Aunt Linda was like an avatar
I'm gonna
for
be honest,
like
my Aunt
millions
Linda,
of people.
My real Aunt Linda probably doesn't like this album, but
you just said she danced that. Oh, you mean the avatar?
The avatar. Aunt Linda. She's dancing to Isn't She Lovely? She's dancing to I Wish at your cousin's bar mitzvah. Okay. She's doing all of that, right? And also, this is probably one of Ethan Iverson's favorite albums. Like this is an album that a snob also really loves.
Okay, we are diverging on this score, my friend.
Really?
Which I didn't think was going to happen. I'm going 8 on this.
What?
Yeah, because I'm going to say that the snob, i.e. Ethan Iverson, likes this record a lot, but is not going to give it up 100%. So like if they're going 5 on this, they're probably like, this is a great record, but it's not.
Caleb, can you reach out to Ethan Iverson?
No, I'm saying like a jazz, we're talking about a jazz snob, right? Ooh.
Well, we didn't
Ooh,
really
all
define
right.
that.
Oh,
Yeah,
Mr.
I think so.
I think we have
I
been.
think
So to be fair, a jazz snob is going to be like, what's the jazz record that a jazz snob is going to be 5 out of 5 no matter what? It's going to be off the charts on Snob-o-meter. Like Lee Conant's, some record that we don't know even. It's great, I'm sure.
I would say like
Wayne Marsh.
Alone in San Francisco is a
Alone
5
in
out of
San
5.
Francisco.
Yeah, like
Bill Evans Live at the Vanguard.
probably.
Like something more contemporary, I'm thinking.
Yeah, like McCoy Tyner super trios.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? Like
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Yeah, a little bit more. So I think that with this, with it being,
VSOP maybe.
yeah, but with this being so
Black
popular,
Codes.
yeah. Think about this though: a record that is universally loved as the greatest record of all time. What's the snob going to say? It's good, not great.
And this is different though, because this is I think because why I give this the snob gives this a 5 out of 5 is because it's outside of
No.
quote unquote the jazz tent.
Yes, but a snob, but the true snob is going to say "Songs of the Key of Life" is great, but "Secret Life of Plants" by Stevie Wonder is the
That's true,
real.
actually.
That's the 5
that's
out
a
of
good
5.
point.
See,
That's the 5 out of 5.
so
Stevie
I'm not.
Secret
I'm not
Life.
taking 2
Yeah.
points off because I believe this is not a 100
Secret
point
Life
record.
is incredibly
but
snobby.
We're sticking
Yeah,
to the
that's
snob.
very good. Yeah, it's very good. We should do Secret Life at some point because it is really good.
Yeah.
Secret Life of
So
Plants.
look at him. Look at the snob there.
My inner snob
love that
lit
record.
up. Yeah. I'm about to write a eloquent essay on Secret Life of Plants.
I recorded one of the tunes off of that. I think I'm such a
gorgeous
snob.
album.
And then I went for. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sticking with 10.
Okay, and so the reason I go 8, well, the snob takes 1 point off, and I think Aunt Linda takes 1 point off because they're like, oh, this is great, I'll dance to it, but they're not thinking this is the greatest record ever like we are. Like you kind of got to be like what we said. This record, part of the greatness of it is that musicians are like the quality of it is so amazing, and people love it. But people are just like, yeah, it's great, just like Off the Wall, and just like Taylor Swift, maybe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay.
They might they might even Aunt Linda might prefer Taylor Swift to this. I don't know.
I think Aunt Linda gets down to Isn't She Lovely? I think she gets down to
Yes.
Sir Duke. I think she gets down to I
but
Wish.
5 out of 5?
Maybe.
Okay.
It depends on your aunt.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate taking a point off this record, but I'm trying to be in the spirit. This is still new to us. The new definition, we're still getting used to it. Okay.
Is it better than KOB?
Do we need to play anything, or can we just go into talking about
I think we
that?
just go into talking
Okay.
about it. So this is another bespoke. Hit the button. It's another bespoke category here in that we are setting Miles Davis's Kind of Blue at a 9.
Yeah.
And
Did we? Okay.
yeah, and we're rating it above or below Kind of Blue. If it's as good as Kind of Blue, it's a 9. If we think it's better than Kind of Blue, it's 9.5 or 10. Because you did a 9.51.
So what is so what if it's not as good as Kind of Blue? It could
It's
be
like
is it a gradient?
8, yeah.
Or 6 or
6
1?
or whatever. Like whatever. What's its relation to Kind of Blue is basically what this is.
Okay.
Kind of Blue's a 9. We're kind of all agreeing that Kind of Blue is a very, very great record. Not
Yeah.
the greatest, but a very great record.
But when we say is it better, are we saying it's greater, or we like it more?
We like it more.
Okay. So I'm going 10.
Me too.
Okay.
Shall
Oh,
we?
you already filled out your whole thing.
I kind of had it all filled out before.
Well, let's go through the motions because this is
All right,
part of our
let's add up our
tradition.
scores. Ready?
Let's add up our scores.
Easiest add ever. I'll go first because you brought this in.
Yes.
So I gave this a 100 out of 100. My favorite track is As, but that's a tough one because it's a tie between about 5 tracks.
Yeah. Okay, my total score is 98, which pains me to say that because I feel like I love this record as much, if not more than you. Not less, not
No,
2
you
points less.
Obviously don't. It's verified right
But
here by our
obviously, what
scores.
I do love more than you is a strict understanding and adherence to the
he is-
Snob-o-meter. Even though you just redefined it.
Literally something you just found out how to use 2 seconds ago.
Yeah, which is even more impressive that I surpassed your mastery or lack thereof of the Snob-o-meter.
Are you serious right now?
Dude, you think the Snob-o-meter is just like a random like clown with its nose just jumping from place. You described it well. You didn't adhere to it well, my friend.
He's criticizing my criticism.
I'm not criticizing. Hey, we all have skills in life. Snob-o-meter's not one of them.
I think my avatar of Aunt Linda likes this record the most, and I think my avatar of the Snob likes this record the most.
Well, look,
Listen, if this isn't a 10 on a Snob-o-meter, what is? Maybe Kind of Blue.
a 98 is still an A+, though, right? I give it a personal A+.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Well, this was
My
great.
favorite track.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I finish? Summer Soft. That was tough too, and I almost went with Az. I'm glad we didn't.
It's really hard, man. Like
Yeah.
I said, there's 5, maybe 6.
Contusion. That's an instrumental. That's a lot of fun.
There's maybe 6 tracks.
One of the great fusion tracks of the 70s is on the. We didn't even talk about that. Talk about lore. All right, thank you, Stevie. But this was like, just talk about labor of love, giving love. Like this was a lot of work from a lot of people, but no more than Stevie Wonder, and I'm sure the engineers in the studio. I mean, like this was truly service oriented
Incredible.
right here.
Yeah. Till next time.
You'll hear it.
All right, we did it.
Now that you've got the key of life, listen to one of my little jammies, my little jammy jams.